Hello and welcome back to 5-Minute Catholic Social Teachings, the show where you get to learn about the teachings of the Catholic Church. My name is Jake and I will be your host. Today, we're going to take a look at the option for the poor and vulnerable Catholic social teaching. Let's jump right in. To put it simply, this teaching states that we must strive to put the needs of the poor and vulnerable first. It encourages us to imitate God's love for the poor by working to create a society where their needs are always considered before anything else. To live out this teaching, we must ensure that the voices of marginalized individuals in society are heard. This includes individuals with disabilities, the elderly, and the less fortunate, just to name a few. To practice this Catholic social teaching, we must consider the impact of our decisions on these individuals' lives. This Catholic social teaching is deeply rooted in Scripture. Beginning with the Hebrew Scriptures, Exodus chapter 22 verses 21 to 25 state, "You shall not wrong or oppress a resident alien. You shall not abuse any widow or orphan. If you lend money to the poor among you, you shall not exact interest from them." For some context, Exodus is believed to be written by Moses, a 13th century Hebrew prophet, whose book conveys a message of redemption and focuses on the Israelites. In the selected passage, it is clearly stated to not oppress resident aliens, which refers to foreigners, and not wrong the widows and orphans, which refers to the vulnerable in our communities. From the Christian scriptures, in the parable of the rich young man, Matthew chapter 19, a wealthy individual asked Jesus what it means to be good. In response, Jesus said to him, "If you wish to be perfect, go, sell your possessions, and give the money to the poor." Matthew, a Jewish tax collector and apostle of Jesus that lived during 50 to 60 AD, wrote for a Jewish audience in order to spread the message that Christ was king. Going back to the specific passage though, it describes donating to the less fortunate, which is one way to carry out this Catholic social teaching. It also teaches that sometimes it is necessary to make a sacrifice, such as selling or giving away a belonging that you paid for to help others. The option for the poor and vulnerable Catholic social teaching is also a prominent message in many formal documents published by the Church. A great example of this is one of Pope John Paul II's encyclicals titled Evangelium Viati, or the Gospel of Life. If you were wondering, an encyclical is a letter from the Pope to Roman Catholic bishops, usually about the Church's official opinion on a subject. In this case, the document was written to remind everyone of the view of the Catholic Church on the value of life. A line from this document is, "By his words and actions, Jesus further unveils the requirements of protecting and defending life when it was weak and threatened, in the case of foreigners, widows, orphans, the sick, and the poor in general." This statement describes the basics of the Catholic social teaching, stating that we must take care of the members of society that are often ignored by everyone else. Additionally, later on in the document, the Pope quotes the Didache, an ancient Christian writing about the teachings of the apostles, when he says, "They show no compassion for the poor. They drive away the needy, oppress the suffering. They are filled with every sin." This line makes it very clear that we must do the opposite. Show compassion for and take in the needy, oppressed, and suffering in order to get to heaven. So, you may be asking, how can I follow this teaching in my own life? Well, you must reflect on your actions and strive to practice some key virtues. One of these virtues is justice. Justice is one of the cardinal virtues and demands that we give everyone what is due to them. In the case of the poor and vulnerable, they deserve to be given the same rights, opportunities, and quality of life as everyone else. Another virtue is diligence. This virtue tells us that we must fulfill our duties in life even when they become inconvenient or undesirable. In this case, the Catholic social teaching states that our duty is to put the needs of the poor and vulnerable before everything else. It is important to remember that even though your actions may not seem to make a huge difference, you must keep at it as their impact is larger than you can imagine. On the other hand, a vice that could prevent you from carrying out this Catholic social teaching is greed. Greed is excess desire for material things. If an individual is greedy, they will not be willing to make the sacrifices necessary to help those in need. For example, a greedy person may refuse to donate food that they purchased to a food bank like this one. And now, I'm just getting word that we're going to be joined live by Dante De Bono, a journalist from the CBC News Network, to talk about a related news story. Take it away, Dante.
Thank you, Jake. In February of this year, a group of generous individuals from Sudbury donated clothing and toiletries to individuals who were homeless or on a very low income due to the current COVID-19 pandemic. Although, with the cold weather, this became a challenge. Melissa Bellinger, one of the founding members of the group, said, "We've had challenges because of the inclement weather. We were freezing and the clients were freezing." After hearing this, a local church offered basement space to the group. This allowed them to continue providing these essentials to those most in need.
Thanks, Dante. This news story is a great example of individuals putting the poor and vulnerable before themselves. This is because the volunteer group practiced the virtues that I mentioned earlier. They continued to push on, even when their task became undesirable and difficult due to the cold weather, because they knew that it was their duty to fulfill the needs of the less fortunate. This displayed the virtue of diligence. Also, by providing those in need with the essentials necessary to have an improved quality of life, closer to that of the average middle-class person, the virtue of justice was demonstrated. And finally, the members of the church that allowed this group to use their basement in order to better serve the community are also great role models of the Catholic social teaching. In the end, the option for the poor and vulnerable Catholic social teaching is a prominent aspect of the Catholic faith. It can be found in both the Hebrew and Christian scriptures, as well as in formal documents published by the Church, such as the encyclicals. We also discussed that, in order to live out this teaching, we must practice the virtues of justice and diligence while avoiding the vice of greed. I hope that with this knowledge, you will make changes to your own life that will allow you to better carry out this teaching. Do you want to practice what you learned from today's episode? Well, if you look below this video, you will be able to participate in a short quiz, matching game, and fun word search. Make sure to check it out. Thanks for watching today's episode of 5-Minute Catholic Social Teachings, and make sure to tune in tomorrow when we're going to be talking about solidarity. Have a great day.